The next process is collect requirements. We all know what we do here. It's a no-brainer. We collect requirements. Now, in your company, you may have a defined approach to doing this. Maybe you don't. Maybe you fly by the seat of your pants, collecting requirements as you go along the way. Or maybe you have a really solid approach. This is the PMI approach for collecting requirements. First of all, you've got a plan for how to do it, carry out the plan, and then you come out with the requirements. It's a collection. You know the term collection agency? Well, you are the collection agent. You are going all out to collect requirements from the stakeholder, from the customer, to truly understand what is expected of you, of your company on the project. So let's talk about the inputs to collect requirements. We've talked about these previously. Scope management plan, requirements management plan, stakeholder management plan, project charter, and stakeholder register. Now remember, the stakeholder management plan and the stakeholder register, we derive this from the stakeholder management knowledge area, but it is an input here. Don't get sidetracked thinking, well, how come my stakeholder register and my stakeholder management plan, which happen in other areas, are used here? It always happens. Project management is not linear. There are several overlaps. There are several feedback loops throughout the PMBOK guide. So the stakeholder register, you got this from initiating. Remember, we also got stakeholder management plan from the stakeholder management aspect, which happens down below, but it's an input here. So now we've talked about scope management plan, requirements management plan, stakeholder management plan, project charter, and stakeholder register. Those are our inputs for collecting requirements. What are the tools and techniques? You should be very familiar with these tools and techniques. The first one is interviews. The next is focus groups. Focus groups get specific stakeholders together and focus on key things as far as those requirements are concerned. Our next tool and technique is facilitated workshops. Facilitating workshops, getting people together, like the meeting of the minds. The next is group creativity techniques. Group creativity techniques include brainstorming, affinity diagrams, and so on. Make sure you know what all of those group creativity techniques are. The next tool and technique is group decision-making techniques. These are techniques used to make decisions, plurality, unanimity, and so on. Make sure you know those. We also have questionnaires and surveys as a tool and technique. The next tool and technique is observations. The next tool and technique is prototypes. The next tool and technique is benchmarking. The next is context diagrams. And the last one is document analysis. Now, I'm not going to go into all the details, but do pick up the Project Management Audio Digest, which goes into more details about this, and also pick up the PMP Bootcamp DVDs, which will go into more details about all of these ITTOs. So I went very quickly through the list of tools and techniques in collect requirements. Interviews, focus groups, facilitated workshops, group creativity techniques, group decision-making techniques, questionnaires and surveys, observations, prototypes, benchmarking, context diagrams, and document analysis. Let's talk about our outputs from collect requirements. The outputs are requirements documentation, which are your requirements all documented. It could be a Word document or spreadsheet. And also requirements traceability matrix. Your requirements traceability matrix is a matrix which tracks requirements back to their origin. And that concludes the collect requirements process. Several tools and techniques here. Don't be alarmed. Just make sure you understand the detail, what each tool and technique really is. Next, we'll be moving on to our defined scope process.